Dennis, it's a pleasure having you back again. I know we've had several conversations, both here as well as on the phone, talking about your journey. And what I'd like to do today, what I would love to understand is the progress of your journey, where it started, how it started, each of the steps you've taken and how they've been effective. I guess what would get out of it, what the audience would get out of it, I would imagine, would be hearing the things that worked for you that they are possibly going through, and understanding that some things will take some time to see results, other things you may see results a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And to get an understanding of where your grounding came from to allow you to continue to move forward, the things that continue to make you say, you know what, I still need help. I still need to move forward. I still need progress. I'm not done. Because I'm sure there are people out there that are thinking to themselves, I'll just do this and then I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure what an understanding they need to have is you're never done.
Correct.
You may feel better. You may be in a better place, but things may drag you back. Things may pull at you. Things may trigger a memory, a feeling. And it's getting a grasp of those events as well, and those triggers as well, and those external things that you can put in place inside yourself, or the things that you can do for yourself that make it easier to get through that, to transition beyond that, to kind of take your next steps and move you forward. And given the history that you have, that the audience has listened to the original interview, and we know what you've been through in your life, to start you off with where your journey began. So what was that first initial moment in your life where you thought to yourself, you know what, this isn't normal. What I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, what I'm going through is not normal, and I need help that I can't give myself. So if you could take us back there, if it's too much, I want you to put the flag up and say, you know, I don't want to go any further on this conversation. Just let me know.
Not at all. It's actually important to talk about. Throughout the years, since about the year 2000, I have placed myself in the, psychiatric facility, whether that would be inpatient or outpatient through a day program, many, many, many times. And every time I would do it, it would give me some sense of relief for a little while. And then it would just all come back. So, I would start to learn a few skills. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. One of the first things that worked for me was art and writing. We learned to journal, write down your feelings, and that kind of stuff, which really, really was helpful, because in the moment, when you're feeling, just enormous depression or enormous sadness or enormous anxiety, and you don't even want to move, being able to take that moment and just scribble down on a piece of paper, I love this, I hate this, this is wrong today, I can't believe that person did this, whatever is running through your system. Because, ultimately, I always thought there has to be a way that I can get past this. It was no matter what amount of medicines the doctors gave me, no matter what amount of therapy I was doing, from regular talk therapy to group therapy to art therapy to what's called EMDR, I think, which is kind of like it's an eye movement tapping type thing that helps, bring back memories and stuff like that. Nothing really seemed to work. And I think why that was because I was relying on someone else to totally fix me. It was like, oh, I've got a tummy ache, let me take some Tums and I'll feel better. That was kind of the trap that I was falling in,
Right.
was, oh, well, I'll just go this one more time. And this one more time, they're going to get everything figured out and I'm going to feel better. And then, a month later, I would be laying on the couch, not able to do dishes or sweep or even talk to anyone because you were just so down and so drawn out. But because of years and years and years of practice, I was able to act my way out of that a lot of the times. And when I realized finally that I couldn't act anymore, yes, the doctors and the psychologists and the therapists and all that kind of stuff, were they helpful of it? I mean, yes, very much so. But were they the whole answer? And they were not. They were not the whole answer. And it wasn't until I had a kind of I want to say a death in the family. I had a friend from the first day of college in 1992 that we went through everything together. And in June of 2020, he passed away in a motorcycle accident. In September of 2020 is when I realized that it's time for me to step up and start understanding how I'm feeling and not just letting other people tell me how I'm feeling. There was a long, long time where it felt very hopeless, because things would be really bad and then they would get better. And then oh, I'm doing great and everybody loves me and I love everybody else. And the next thing you know, you can't get up in the morning to get out of bed because you're just so down. And then your anxiety kicks in and then you don't want to live anymore. And then it just, it's just this vicious and then kind of thing. But after my best friend passed away, it was really, I have to take charge of my life mentally, spiritually, philosophically, religion wise first, and then work on getting my health, my physical health in line so that I wouldn't keep slowly killing myself,
right.
By the smoking or drinking or food or sugar or, whatever, those types of things. So that was like the first real step to my healing process that seemed to work the best for me, was realizing that I needed to also step up and understand what's going on and why things are going on, not just flippantly going through life, taking pills.
So between 1999, 2000, which was the first time that you went to the hospital, and 2020, you were going through the process of being evaluated and taking steps that were being assigned to you, essentially some methodologies to help you with your situation, your conditions. Yes. But it was more for you an act to do what somebody else was telling you to do, not a commitment from yourself to help yourself.
Correct.
So in essence, when they say heal yourself, whenever they talk about mental health, you have to have a willingness to go through the process. And in your case, you had a willingness to act through the process for that period of time, to feel good at certain periods of time. And it was sort of working, little bits and pieces were getting you there. But in your head, you were assigning it to someone else. You were saying, you can help me, you can help me, you can help me, not I can help myself by going through this process and you can just guide me, but I need to be the one who's doing the work. And in 2020, I'm hearing that you made the commitment. You said, I need to be the one to take charge of this. Correct. I need the one to step up and take the actions as commitment from myself, not assigning it to someone else and saying, you can help me. It's Correct. More, I can help myself, but you can guide me because I'm not the expert on this.
Correct. And not, I know myself, but I don't know myself in respect of the whole world, because myself, I've always been normal. So my fears and anxieties to me were that's just who I was. Doesn't everybody, have crippling anxiety? Doesn't everybody have crippling depression? And you know what I mean? And that kind of stuff. So realizing that I was going to go within and really look at, okay, well, why do I have anxiety? What? Now, I mean, I could rattle off all the things that gave me anxiety, but to really think about them in the fact that being terrified that when your spouse, girlfriend, mother, or father left the house to go to the store or whatever, that they were never coming back. And the intense worry of, oh my goodness, they're going to leave, they're gone, they don't love me anymore. Being able to understand where those feelings came from allowed me to understand how I needed to be able to get rid of them. So it's kind of like you have a question, you find out the answer on the test. So the answer is Wisconsin, but then you have to learn everything you can about Wisconsin to be able to fully understand what Wisconsin is. I mean, it's the same concept with everything. A tree, I mean, it's an oak tree. Okay, well, it's an oak tree. That's the answer to the question. Well, what is an oak tree and what does it do and why does it do it? So that type of process started around September of 2020. And it's just been going back and forth, getting better, worse ever since. Even up until days before we talked here, there was plenty of things that were finally being able to be released that I never was consciously able to tap into.
Right.
And that just kept coming from trying and trying and trying and trying. And if something didn't work, then that's okay. That's not the end. This doctor's pill doesn't work. Well, that's okay. There are others. This type of prayer didn't work. Well, then there are others. I think we talked about before, I was raised Catholic, altar boy, had a wonderful experience growing up in the Catholic Church, small town in Pennsylvania. But there's no better feeling than reciting those prayers that I used to do as a kid. Now, I don't think about them in the same way, because when you're a child, you're just repeating and all that kind of stuff. So to me, Jesus and God, they only lived within those four walls. And when you walked around outside, if you needed help, you went into those four walls, learning that those four walls do not contain the vastness of whatever you want to call God, Jesus, Mary, the one, the source, tapping into that realization inside that all those things are great and wonderful, but if I don't understand them and I don't understand myself, they're going to be very hard to help, if that makes sense.
I want to touch on that because religion has been very important to you, because faith has been very important to you. Between the years of, we won't go before 1999, because that's when it was normal for you, and all the things that you were experiencing was normalcy, and therefore the faith and your religion was all a meshed part of that. Whether it was helpful or not helpful, it was simply a part of that whole. But after 1999, 2000, before 2020, when you accepted the responsibility of your own health, was faith and religion to you a crutch, as in something to fall on to hold yourself up on times, or was it actually something deep and inside that sort of helped you stay up, even though the things you were going through was part of it, let's say an act, or part of I'm externalizing my self-help by letting somebody else dictate, do this, and you'll be better. Was religion that form of a crutch, or was it something more powerful inside you that was one of those impetus, one of those driving forces that said, keep going, you'll get there eventually? How did you, between the 2000 and 2020, how was it for you then? And then, I know I'm giving you a two-part question that's very wordy. After 2020, how has faith and religion maintained you and your push to move forward?
Oh, that's actually a great thing to talk about, because like when I first started going into the hospital in 2000, right around there, it was right after, kind of a bad divorce. I mean, I already had all kinds of anxiety symptoms and worries and all that other kind of stuff. And when the divorce happened, that was just the catalyst that was like, we're going to tear open this wound right now and let's start. So after I first got divorced, I started attending mass regularly. And it wasn't so that I could learn the stories. It wasn't so that, I would be around a bunch of people, because I never really wanted to be talked to. I always wanted to be within myself. But there was always something about the beauty of the art and the beauty of the solemnness of a church. And it didn't really matter what church. It could have been Catholic, Presbyterian, whatever. There's something innately beautiful about being present in the building that was very relaxing. It was kind of like my first step into meditation. Okay. That's how I would kind of think about it, because then I started doing things like the rosary a lot. So, I can't do anything halfway. So like when I started doing the rosary, I ended up with like 15 rosaries. I had friends that were traveling overseas. I said, oh, when you stop in Rome, I want a rosary, from John Paul II, from the Vatican. And they, brought, so it was like all these little special meanings. So it was, my first step into, I know that everything that I need is somewhere inside me. I need to figure out either who do I talk to or how do I get to that spot. So those first 2 or 3 years, we would go and see priests that were like retired and like 80 years old. And, they would do the different sacraments that we did always as kids and all that kind of stuff. And was it the same? No, it's never the same as when you were younger, but there was that core part of it that I knew I was safe. It's church and not so much religion as a whole, mm-hmm. but the act of being in a relaxed, very solemn, quiet, calming place was so new, because I spent almost all my time worrying. I had no safe, calm space, because even before, even at home, I worried all the time about what was going on outside the window. And these were some of the first steps of allowing myself to be alone, to be within myself, and start the ball rolling. And in around 2003, I didn't have a great job. Was spending lots of money on rent and child support and car payment and all that other kind of stuff. And I went to the local hospital, which was a Catholic hospital, and they had it's Our Lady of Guadalupe novena, where you went every day for 9 days. So I had my special rosaries, and I would go to the chapel at the church. And if I completed all 9 days, it was kind of like not a video game, but it was kind of like you had an incentive. Mm-hmm. You got this beautiful poster of Our Lady of Guadalupe, which is just a beautiful image artistically. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I'm going to make it every day because I want this picture. Going back from till childhood, I collected religious pictures and poems and all that kind of stuff. So that was very close to my heart. I loved that stuff. Well, in the middle of the novena, I thought to myself, things have been crazy. I'm not getting anywhere job wise. There's only so many things I can do in this world. One, talk, two, photograph, you know what I mean? Do art and, and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I just said, I'm going to do these novenas and I want help. Please help me. It was just like a request that I said that was very heartfelt. And it wasn't like, oh, I want money because I want to go to this concert. It was, please help me. I don't know where I'm supposed to be. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Everything I've known before is gone. I still have all the crazy anxiety and worry. And the novena got done. And it was probably less than 6 months, maybe even shorter. I had answered an ad in the newspaper for a job, which was like a dream job for me. I met someone that I thought was great, you know what I mean? But being shy and all that other kind of stuff, it was like, oh, what do you do? And within, less than 6 months, I had the job. And around the same time, had the gal. So it was almost like, one of those movies they put up to inspire you or something like that. It just all of a sudden happened.
Right.
And I know there's 1,000 different names for what you could call what happened. The only thing that I like to call it, I asked and the right things came to me. You know what I mean? Because I didn't ask for something specific. I didn't say, I want this specific job. I want this specific girl or this specific car. I just wanted to be better. I just wanted to be like everybody else. I guess happy.
So when you did the novena, did it put you in a positive mental state? Did it help you? Were you more relaxed? Were you more comfortable with yourself at that point in time? And for the extended period of time beyond it, I know you had your picture, so you had won that. That must have made you feel good because you got the picture that you had wanted to. But were you in a really positive place? Because it might be, as much as it's serendipity that allowed these things to occur the way they did, you might almost assume that you were also in a good place yourself. And that may have been precipitous in somebody seeing you for an interview for the job and saying, this guy's in a really great place. I like his attitude. I like his spirit. I like what's going on inside, because even the voice that you don't use, the inner voice that's inside you, people can see it, even if they don't hear it. And they read it. It's read into your character. When you meet somebody for the first time on the street, and the way they look at you and the way they'll say hi immediately triggers responses in your brain, electrochemical responses that say you either like them or there's something off. And yes, more than likely you were projecting, I'm good with the world. I'm happy. I'm positive and calm and everything is okay. And people saw that and went, you know what? I like him. He's good with the world. He's positive. He's calm. And the same with the relationship. The woman that you wanted, you put out vibes that said, I'm good. I'm not desperate. I'm good. I know what is and what's not supposed to happen. And that's more than likely the driving force behind it. It could also be the work that you did with the novena, because faith allows for things to happen in a positive manner, not because you asked for it, but because it's meant to be, right?
Correct.
So
I absolutely agree with the first statement, as I was in a place that was so positive. And it wasn't just the novena, it was all of the little steps, like reading more about religion and history, whether that was just straight Catholicism or Protestants or Hinduism, you know what I mean? Really starting to learn more about the world that wasn't based in fear inside my, so it's, I absolutely 100% agree when you say, was it just you and they saw something in you because you were putting out that vibe? Absolutely. Because I know at the time I was not medicated in any way. I had gotten off my medications because I had thought that I was better. The only thing that getting off medicine did was allow me to stay up longer and later. Because a lot of the medicines, calm you down and bring you down and that kind of stuff. But it was absolutely the change in my biofield, my energy, my smile, my eyes, body language, whatever, that made the difference. Going to mass or going to the novena or just praying the rosary at night before I went to bed, giving myself the time to go within and, like we said before, use that learning experience to start to heal. So yeah, I mean, whether I was meditating or someone does yoga or running, I mean, there's athletes that, that is their, they could run for, 100 miles, not only because they're in physical shape, but because they're okay within themselves. They don't have the extra baggage. I mean, I'm sure some of them do, you know what I mean? But
Yes.
you can do great things by simply believing that you can do great things.
Exactly. Yeah. So a question again, I'll come back. I'm going to be on religion for a little bit here.
Oh, that's okay.
No, for you, because of everything that we talked about before, and because of the things that you've mentioned today about the fears of abandonment. People would leave go shopping, and you'd think they're never coming back. People go out to just get the mail from the mailbox, and your immediate mental response to that is that they're never coming back. They're gone forever, and I'm lost. And what the hell is going to happen next?
Yeah.
Would you say that that your belief in religion was one of the few things in your life that never went away? You
Cool.
never worried about it leaving you. It was always there for you. No matter when you looked for it, it was there. There it is. You didn't have to think, it's gone. Where did it go? Because it was always there. It was always with you. So would you say that that was one of the strengths of your faith, of your belief systems that carried you forward? That it was one of those things that wasn't leaving you, and you could then say, okay, everything isn't leaving, everything isn't going away. If this doesn't, maybe other things aren't, right?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And that started from the time the abuse ended. That belief that everything would be okay because of my faith. I mean, blind faith is one thing. Real faith is another.
Mm-hmm.
I have real faith that everything in my life will be okay.
Yeah.
I could be bankrupt tomorrow. I could lose a leg the next week. Everything will be okay. I have always had that mentality since I was 7. And yes, that mentality many, many times over kept me going, because that little bit of something that is never going to go away. Your eyesight can fail, your hair can fall out. You know what I mean? Those tangible things can go away. Faith and trust in your heart, you can always get back to. You know what I mean? We live in tornado country here in the middle of Illinois, and the whole house could be blown down. But if I'm alive and my children and my family is alive, I know everything will be okay, even if I lost some of them.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, being, in my middle 50s, there's plenty of relatives that I've, lost in my lifetime. I know that I will be okay. I know that the world will be okay. Even the world we live in right now, I have no negative emotion about it. Do I like a lot of it? No. Do I love a lot of it? Yes. But I know that everything will be okay. So you hit it right on the head. That knowing in faith has driven me for 50 years basically, and even more so since 2000, because before it was a knowing that I had inside that I could always go and talk to Mary or Jesus, or get the little prayer book out and look at it and pray. That knowing was always inside. But until you go inside and embrace that knowing or that knowledge every single day, until it just becomes a matter of fact, that you just know that no matter what, everything will be okay. So yeah, absolutely. I hope that answered what you.
It absolutely did. So
Okay.
at any point in time, did you question it? When you started to go inside and you looked at the faith, did you ever have honest questions about it? Where is this coming from? Why am I feeling this way? Is there something that makes sense about this? Did you ever have, and I'll use Tennyson's quote, honest doubt?
Yeah.
Did you ever have honest doubt about how you felt and how it was connected to your life?
No, not in that respect. The doubts came from, and really, I think it was a little bit of a programming when you get into mental health things and you start seeing the psychiatrists and the psychologists. They're coming from a certain angle, and they have their books, and if you fit these guidelines and you take this medicine. For me, the doubt came in, will we ever find the right combination of medicines that will make me not so anxious that I have to take, 3 anxiety pills today and walk around like a zombie? Or am I ever going to get to the point where they're going to get me the medicine so that I'm not depressed? You know what I mean? Because it's like this vicious cycle. You're anxious and scared. And I believe that precedes depression.
Right.
Because you get depressed because of the anxiety and the fear, whatever that fear happens to be about. So no, there was no doubt ever in my brain and in my heart of hearts, there was no doubt about my faith and religion. Now, how about this? My faith, my opinion of organized religion over the years has changed.
Yes.
I can appreciate it for what it is, but I have evolved past being someone that has to quote scripture, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't feel I need to quote anything because I already know it in my heart.
Right.
I may not know the words that you know the words, but I can tell you from my heart exactly what it means. So that belief and that philosophy has always 100%. I mean, and if that is an important note for anyone who is watching or listening, that was a key in my development mentally and emotionally and getting better. That has always been. Never, I mean, you have doubts, that kind of stuff, but really in your core, never doubting in your core, no matter how bad the day is, the next breath could always be a better one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even going to say the next minute, the next day, because that next filling of air in your lungs could be the switch that goes, this is what's happening with this little piece of information. It's like getting that little light bulb, and that opportunity comes every time you breathe, because if you believe that, you have until the day you stop breathing to to make a difference in your own life. And you don't have to make a difference in everyone else's life. But as soon as you make a difference in your own life, you're automatically going to make a difference in others. So
now, one thing I want to note, and it's also as important as the core faith that you have. At no point in time have you said that you looked to anyone to fix you, that you needed to be fixed, that there was an end to the process. You have never said that.
no,
I've listened, I've allowed you to speak through it. And I thought, am I going to hear you say that, I took this medication so that I would be fixed, so that it would be cured, so that it would be done, I'd be done with it. You've never said that. And what is striking about that, there are so many people that have this belief, and it's incredulous that they carry it with them, that what's wrong with them is they're broken and that it needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
That whatever's going on in their head is wrong and it can be corrected, that there is an end state to the process, because whatever's happened in the beginning can all be bundled up into a little envelope and shipped someplace, and now you're normal.
Yeah.
All of those constructs, all of that nonsense, I know I'm possibly using an incorrect word in this.
It's okay. I wouldn't know the difference.
It is more impactful on people that are going through things like you have gone through than anything else, because they have a sense that I can be fixed. I'm broken. I can be fixed. And it's not the case. You are never broken. You are never in a situation where there's something in you that can be taken out and now you're better. There is no cure. What there is a realization, as you've come to, that you have processes that occur, that what you had originally thought was normal, this is the way everything is actually impactful on others around you. And that by realizing it and going through the process of self-actualization, self-realization, allowing yourself to experience and accept, and as you've mentioned earlier, forgiving both yourself and anyone else that was impacting around you, you are becoming a human being that then can be positively impactful on others around you. And it's a continuous growth process. Absolutely. You are never done. You are never done. You haven't said that you're done. You haven't said that you're going to be done. You have never looked at it as, by Thursday next week, I'm finished. I'm cured. I'm going to run through the finish line, and I'll snap the little ribbon, and then I'm
passed the bar exam. I can be a lawyer now. I passed the bar exam. It's funny, Stefan. I think about it this way, and this was what coming to my brain when you were talking. When you know that it's always going to be a learning process, that doesn't mean that things you felt last week, you have to feel this week. That just means that the things you felt last week, you have learned from those things. They have been pulled into your body and into your psyche and into your mind and your soul and that kind of stuff. Every experience you have, whether that's walking down the street, going to a movie, going to a concert, or sitting here talking to someone like yourself one-on-one, will change the course of your mind every single moment. So no, I will never be done, because we're designed to never stop learning. And when we stop learning, when we allow, and this is not a bad word, when we allow ignorance to take over and just say, well, this is the way things are, this is the way they will always be, and I'm either going to be fixed or I'm going to suffer forever. That's complete nonsense, because I can look at you straight in the eyes and say, I am not fixed. I'm not going to be fixed, but I have had more glorious days in my life over the last 3 years, basically, September or so, 2020, than I had in my entire lifetime. And I don't mean like, oh, I got to go see, Led Zeppelin in concert, and that was my favorite band. I mean, simply looking around at my children, my parents, my sisters, somebody at the grocery store, and knowing that they are the same but different human specimen that you are. And if I'm suffering today and I'm being a grump, and then they look at that and say, oh, well, that person's a complete, donkey. You have portrayed yourself to them as that. And they will always, in 10 years, they may not think, oh, this guy at the grocery store I met, but that has imprinted upon them. So knowing that every day, even though someone is not having a good day, that doesn't mean tomorrow they're not going to have a good day. And as soon as everybody realizes that, as soon as you say, oh, I'm in the present, you're already in the past, because your future is only determined by yourself. Mm-hmm. I can either sit here and wallow and say, I'm never going to be fixed, or I can say, you know what? I'm never going to be fixed. And that's okay, because it gives me an opportunity to learn every single day just how great it is to be alive and in this world. And when you come at it with that attitude, you're going to smile at the people at the grocery store more than with your eyes down, being a complete grump. You are going to see someone's eyes light up when you hold the door for them. Chivalry is not dead. It doesn't matter if they're an old man, a young man, an old lady, a young lady, or a 10-year-old kid. You have given that person love. You have loved them without even knowing them, by simply being kind. So every day is a new day to learn new kindness, and I'll never stop learning. And I believe even after I'm gone, I still will never stop learning. Why do I feel this way? I don't know. Maybe it's because of years and years and years of not really learning, being stuck in the same pattern. Yep. You did things more because you were afraid someone was going to be upset, more than for the feeling you got in your heart, just for holding the door or saying, can I help you with something? Or, there's a mom with 3 kids and somebody drops something on the floor, you go and pick it up. It's just these simple little things. Everything is not as complicated as the world makes it to be.
Yeah,
exactly. I guess that's the best answer I can give.
And the one thing I want to, and I won't say correct you on, because there's no correct, but you had said that you're not fixed and you're okay with not being fixed. And I don't look at it that way. I look at it as you're different. I'm different.
Yeah.
We're always going to learn and continue to be different. And the learning opportunities are there in front of us. Now we can accept them as they come at us at every moment. We can see them and play a part of it, or we can ignore them. And, as you said, that the word ignorant, we can be ignorant to some things. That's not helpful.
Yeah.
But I would say there's nothing broken about you.
Yeah.
I would say that there's a difference.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Not a correction, because you're right. That wasn't the right word. It's not about being broken and not being able to be fixed. It's more about the knowing that I'm okay with who I am, and I am learning every day to be a better me.
Yeah.
And if a better me means I have to show someone love and kindness rather than being a jerk or angry. I mean, we all have bad days.
Yep.
And you're in the car or whatever. There's not many things in this world that are worth being so upset that you can't eventually get back to being loving and caring and kind. Even the most horrific things that you can go through. And to me, what I went through, felt horrific. But then when you look in the broad spectrum of things, was it really that horrific? Well, no. Yes and no. It depends on your personality, how you were born, how you deal with things. Things happened, and they happened for a reason. The reason being, that was my experience. That's how I judge the world. And that has brought me to this place and how I judge the world today.
Right. One thing that came to mind while we were talking about this is I recall, I think it was a few years ago, there was a commercial on television about a person's walking along and they're sort of upset and they bump into somebody and they make some remark. And then the person they bumped into looks in their hands and they're holding this black sphere. And then they go along their day a little bit and they do something, they bump or they see something and they yell. And when they do that, the person they've just done it to look in their hands and they've got this black sphere. And it happens over and over until a point where somebody comes along and they've got a black sphere and they bring it into the house and they've got a room full of black spheres. And they decide, you know what, I've had enough of this. And they start painting them yellow. And they paint all these sunshiny yellow spheres up, and then they start walking around and handing them out to people. And it's a smile, and here you go, and a smile. And people take the yellow sphere and they're like, oh, happy day. And they walk along and they hand it off to somebody else. And it's basically, it's what you said, encapsulated in imagery, that you can be grouchy, and that attitude impacts others, that will impact others, that will impact others. They will carry that negativity through the connections that they make with others. In the same vein, though, if you're nice, if you open a door, if you smile, if you say, hello, here, let me get that for you, that will be paid forward, so to speak, as other people, like, I recall historically, I was in a parking lot and I was not in a very good mood. And I saw a car approaching me in the parking lot and I went, oh no. And I was getting upset. I'm thinking, I don't want to talk to these people. And this elderly woman gets out of the car. Can you help me? I think I'm lost. As soon as she spoke, it was like, yes, I can. Yes. And I came over and I showed her where she was and I showed her on the map. And when she left, she was happy. And I had this warm sensation of, wow, I just did something nice. And I'm berating myself because I almost started this conversation negatively. Yeah. But then something took over and I went, no, I'm going to be nice. And I did nice. And it made me feel good. She left happy and she got to her destination. Probably spread a story about this kind young gentleman that I don't know who helped me on my way. And here I am thinking, wow, it felt better to be nice than to be, I'm not helping you, and get in my car and drive off. So, you know, the sharing, this distribution of kindness, of love, is self-fulfilling. It really is. I mean, as I've experienced it, and I'm sure you do every day, that you do something like that.
And that's so important for people to understand, I think. I mean, I'm all about, kindness and love, even to a fault. There's people in this world that do really, really horrible things. And will I ever condone it? No. Do I have to be nice to them? No. But I am not going to allow myself to experience a overwhelming negative feeling because of what someone else has done.
Right.
Even if they did it to me, allowing that hate is the best word I can come with, allowing yourself to be angry and ugly and hateful. And you're right, it just passes it along. It passes it along to your children. It passes it along to your spouse. It passes it along to your boss. It passes it along to you, because the more you hate others or are hateful, this is my opinion, the more you are hateful towards others, the less good you feel about yourself, because you just said it. You were angry. You did not want to talk to somebody. I've been in that position, like, oh my, can I just get a minute to myself, for crying out loud, and you just want to scream. And then as soon as you flip that switch, and you were kind and you helped this elderly woman, and it could have been a 20-something-year-old guy. It could have been a punk rocker or whatever. It could have been anyone. And the fact that kindness was used instead of anger literally changed you inside at that moment. Now, is everyone able to hold on to those moments when they're far and few between for weeks and weeks at a time? Of course not. They last. Your brain goes to doing other things and all that kind of stuff. But if you have a day full of those moments, and then 2 days, and then a week full of those moments, Those moments will just happen and you won't even think about it. It just will happen. The same thing happens with anger. It becomes so unconscious. So the healing mentally, because depression, sadness, all those sorts of things are kind of an anger that you have with yourself. You have a self-loathing, a self-hatred, which makes you depressed. Because if you are truly happy, and happy's not even, I think, the best word. If you truly were kind to yourself, forgave yourself, even if you were a jerk yesterday, today I'm not going to be a jerk. I let that jerk go. That jerk is gone. I forgive him. Let's try and do better today. I know it sounds like preaching, and it's really hard when you're trying to learn it. But I can promise the more that you try and learn it and that you don't give up, ultimately, the better it will be. Because it's not like you're giving up on the world, because the world is just how you perceive it. Like right now, I'm listening to birds in my yard. I can hear them chirping and stuff like that. And it's the most beautiful, lovely thing. Just that little bit, that little moment that there's many, many people who struggle mentally. And I did. So I've been there. You don't hear those birds anymore. And if you do, you don't hear them the same way. So being able to bring that love, that forgiveness, that kindness into yourself you'll just lay it out, for others.
That's I hear that, and I'm in my head, I'm thinking, I like the idea of being able to forgive yourself for being a jerk. What my add-on, a caveat I get would be, and because I'm human, I know maybe down the line, a couple of days, maybe next 15 minutes, I might be a jerk again. But what it means is that that's just me. And I can forgive that. And I don't have to be it all the time. And the more I do, the more activities to not be that jerk, the less likely I'm going to be it more frequently, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
that
absolutely.
It's kind of like if I put a skip in my step every once in a while, the first little while it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to feel awkward. What am I doing? What is this? This step doesn't feel right. But the more I do it, it's almost going to become second nature. This is the way I walk now. I walk with a skip in my step because it's just the way I walk now. And the same probably is true, that the less jerk-like you act, to just put it in that context, the less likely you're going to act that way. But part of that process is to forgive the fact that you were that way, and to allow for the fact that's me. That was me. I'm not going to say I hated that part of me. That's just who I am.
Just who you are.
And it changes. To externalize it and say the world is going to judge me by it. No, it's not. The world has you in it. You are part of it. The world makes no judgment call, because you can be a jerk in the world and the world doesn't care. You can be the happiest person in the world. The world doesn't care, but the people around you will see it. And you inside will see it. And that's the important part. And for you, as part of this, our conversation, it's that internal acceptance and happiness that you're saying has helped you and continues to help you move forward, to continue to give you that hope and that desire to be a better version of yourself. Because you'll have your down days. You have had, I listen to the birds and it's like, oh, shut up. Yeah. And that that's not the response you want to give, but that's where you feel today. And to allow yourself, I'm going to just take a breather here for a minute, and I'm going to let myself feel kind of there, and then I'm going to kick myself in the ass and pick myself up, and I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to smile again. I'm going to give myself a smile. I'm going to walk out the door, and I'm going to listen to the birds and be okay. I'm happier now.
And that's really self-forgiveness. You have self-forgiveness in a way. You're not forgiving yourself for being yourself. That's not what I'm saying. You're not allowing. I don't want to say not allowing things to get you down. I mean, just because something happened yesterday doesn't mean it's going to happen today. And it doesn't mean that you can't make it better today. Could it be worse today? Absolutely. Could it be better? Absolutely. But allowing yourself to just experience what is.
Absolutely appreciate everything that you've said and everything that you are. And I hope this continues. And I hope to hear more from you because, as I said, you are a guide in this process. I would not say that lightly. And I hope you continue to guide as well as to grow yourself and to move forward.
That's my plan. That's my plan for sure.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. You have a nice night.